So you want to own a self-storage business. No employees chasing customers. No expensive inventory sitting on shelves. No restaurant kitchen. No angry diners. No trucks making deliveries. Just rows of metal doors. People rent a box. They put their junk inside. They leave. And every month money quietly lands in your bank account. At least that's the dream. Drive past almost any self-storage facility in America and it looks almost abandoned. The parking lot is empty. The office lights are off. Nobody seems to be working. No customers walking around. No long lines. No forklifts. No noise. Nothing. Yet somehow some of these facilities generate millions of dollars every year. Here's the part most people never understand. A self-storage business isn't really renting space. It's renting people's inability to let go. You're not selling square feet. You're selling guilt, memories, convenience, procrastination, divorce, death, moving, houses, growing families, shrinking families, failed businesses, college students, military deployments. People don't wake up one morning excited to rent a storage unit. Life pushes them into one. And that's exactly why this business has quietly become one of the most profitable forms of commercial real estate in America. But before you start imagining effortless passive income, there's something almost every first time investor gets completely wrong. They think the business is about building storage units. It isn't. The business is about keeping those units full without becoming too full. Because a storage facility with empty units loses money. But surprisingly, a facility that's completely full can also be losing money. We'll come back to that. First, let's answer the obvious question. What exactly are you buying? Because not every storage business is the same. Some facilities rent tiny 5 by 5 lockers, barely large enough for holiday decorations. Others rent climate-controlled units protecting artwork worth millions. Some store boats. Some store RVs. Some store classic cars. Some even rent warehouse-sized units to small businesses using them as mini distribution centers. From the outside, every building looks almost identical. Long hallways, metal doors, security cameras, concrete floors. Simple. But financially, these are completely different. Businesses wearing the same uniform and choosing the wrong model before you even break ground can quietly cost you millions before your first customer ever rolls through the gate. So you found a piece of land. Maybe it's just outside a growing city. Traffic is increasing. New neighborhoods are being built. You look around and think people are going to need storage here. That sounds reasonable. But here's the first trap. A self-storage business doesn't succeed because land is cheap. It succeeds because the right people are running out of space. Those are two completely different things. A facility built in the wrong location can sit half empty for years, while another one just 5 miles away has a waiting list. The difference isn't the building. It's the demographics. Industry operators don't start by asking how much does the land cost. They ask who is moving here, how many apartments are nearby, how many people are downsizing, how many businesses need extra inventory space. Because every occupied storage unit begins with a life event. A move, a divorce, a death, a growing family, a business expansion, or simply a garage that's finally too full. Now let's talk about construction. Because this is where most first-time investors underestimate the numbers. From the road, a storage facility looks incredibly simple. Steel buildings, concrete slabs, roll-up doors. That's it. Right. Not even close. Before a single customer stores their first box, you'll need land preparation, drainage systems, utility connections, stormwater management, security fencing, electronic gates, LED lighting, fire protection, paved access roads, office construction, landscaping, permit fees, engineering studies, environmental reports, and then hundreds of heavy-duty commercial storage doors, each one built to survive years of constant use. By the time everything is finished, even a medium-sized facility can require several $1 million before opening day. And here's the painful part. Unlike an apartment building or a hotel, your beautiful new facility opens completely empty. Every unit, every hallway, every building, zero revenue. But the mortgage has already started. Property taxes don't wait. Insurance doesn't wait. Loan payments don't wait. Utilities don't wait. Maintenance doesn't wait. You're burning cash long before the first customer arrives. Which brings us to one of the biggest misconceptions in this entire business. People think storage companies make money by building facilities. They don't. They make money by reaching one very specific number: occupancy. Not 100%, not 50%. There's a surprisingly narrow range where a storage facility becomes incredibly profitable. Too few customers and fixed costs crush you. Too many customers and something unexpected starts happening. You lose pricing power, which sounds completely backwards. But once you understand how storage pricing actually works, you'll realize these businesses don't just rent empty rooms. They quietly operate one of the smartest pricing systems in commercial real estate. Most first-time investors think a self-storage facility makes money the same way an apartment building does. Build the units, rent the units, collect the rent. Simple. Except that isn't what separates the profitable operators from the ones who quietly go bankrupt. Because unlike apartments, your customer doesn't actually live inside your building, which means something very unusual happens. Once they move their belongings into a storage unit, most of them disappear. Think about that. No clogged toilets, no broken kitchen appliances, no late-night complaints, no barking dogs, no leaking roofs caused by tenants. For months, sometimes years, you never even see the customer again. And that's exactly why investors love this business. The average self-storage customer visits their unit only once or twice a month. Some visit only a few times a year. Many eventually forget exactly what they even stored, which creates one of the strangest economics in commercial real estate. Your customer keeps paying while costing you almost nothing. No electricity inside most units. No plumbing. Almost no maintenance. No expensive cleaning between visits. A tenant paying $180 every month but never showing up is almost a perfect customer. The unit isn't wearing out. Your payroll isn't increasing. Your utility bill barely changes. That monthly payment quietly flows toward profit. But here's where almost everyone misunderstands the business. They assume higher occupancy always means higher profits. It doesn't. Imagine your facility reaches 100% occupancy. Every unit is rented. Sounds perfect. Except now, every person who calls asking for a unit hears the same answer. Sorry, we're full. You didn't lose one customer. You lost every future customer until someone moves out. Experienced operators actually become nervous when occupancy stays above 95% for too long, because a completely full facility can't raise revenue by renting more space. Instead, they start increasing prices. Slowly. Sometimes only $5. Sometimes $10. The goal isn't simply to stay full. The goal is to find the highest price people are still willing to pay before occupancy begins to fall. That's the real product, not storage. Pricing. In fact, many professional operators review rental prices every single month. If demand stays strong, new customers pay more than existing customers. If demand weakens, promotions suddenly appear. First month free. 50% off for 8 weeks. Free lock included. You're not looking at generosity. You're looking at revenue management. Airlines do it. Hotels do it. Self-storage companies quietly copied the same strategy. Because every empty unit is inventory that disappears forever. A hotel room unsold tonight can never be sold tomorrow. A storage unit sitting empty this month has already lost this month's revenue forever. That's why marketing becomes surprisingly important. Most customers aren't planning 6 months ahead. They're moving this weekend, getting divorced today, closing a business this month. Their basement just flooded. When that moment happens, they don't compare 20 different facilities. They search storage near me. And whoever appears first usually wins. Which means your biggest competitor isn't necessarily the storage facility across town. It's Google's search results. And that's before we even talk about the biggest financial risk almost nobody sees coming. Because the most expensive mistake in this business now. Let's talk about the part almost nobody budgets for correctly. Security. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. A storage business isn't really protecting boxes. It's protecting trust. The moment customers believe their belongings aren't safe, your reputation can collapse faster than your occupancy ever grew. That means security isn't optional. It's part of the product. Modern facilities spend tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars on electronic gate systems, license plate recognition, high-definition surveillance cameras, motion detection, individual unit alarms, cloud video storage, and cybersecurity for online customer accounts. Because today's customers don't just expect a lock. They expect technology. Then comes insurance. Here's something most first-time owners misunderstand. The building is insured. That doesn't mean the customer's belongings are, which is why many operators offer tenant insurance as an add-on. It's a small monthly fee, $5, $10, maybe $15, tiny for the customer, but across thousands of occupied units it quietly becomes another reliable stream of recurring revenue. And then maintenance. Storage buildings don't look complicated, but they never stop aging. Roll-up doors break. Electronic gates fail. Roofs leak. Security cameras need replacing. Concrete cracks. LED lights burn out. Pests find their way inside. Climate-controlled facilities have another problem. Air conditioning, heating, humidity control. Those systems run every single day, not because customers are visiting, but because expensive furniture, artwork, electronics, wine collections, medical records, and business inventory depend on stable temperatures. Every extra dollar spent on electricity protects thousands of dollars worth of customer property. Now here's the hidden business inside the storage business. Late payments. Most customers don't cancel immediately. Life gets busy. Credit cards expire. Payments fail. Some people disappear entirely. Their storage unit stays locked. Their belongings stay inside. But eventually the law allows the storage company to auction the contents. Television makes these auctions look like treasure hunting. Rare paintings, gold coins, classic cars, hidden fortunes. Reality is far less exciting. Most abandoned units contain old furniture, broken appliances, boxes of clothes, or things nobody else wanted either. Storage companies don't make money from auctions. In fact, auctions usually mean the business already lost a customer. The auction simply helps recover unpaid rent. The real money was always the monthly payment that arrived quietly month after month for a customer who barely visited. Because here's the strange reality. The most profitable storage customer isn't the person constantly accessing their unit. It's the person who forgets it's even there. And that single psychological habit may be the strongest economic advantage this entire industry has. So can a self-storage business actually make you rich? Yes, but probably not for the reason you think. Let's look at the companies that mastered the game. One of the biggest names in America is Public Storage. Another is Extra Space Storage. Together, they control thousands of facilities and billions of dollars worth of real estate. Did they become giants because they built the fanciest buildings? No, they became giants because they understood something far more important. Occupancy, pricing, expansion. Every successful facility generates predictable monthly cash flow. That cash flow helps finance another facility, then another, then another. Eventually, they're no longer just renting storage units. They're owning a nationwide real estate portfolio that quietly grows in value year after year. But not everyone wins. During periods of extremely low interest rates, developers rushed to build new storage facilities across many American cities. Everyone saw the same headlines. Storage is recession-resistant. Passive income. Minimal employees. So they built, and built, and built. Then something happened. Supply grew faster than demand. Entire neighborhoods suddenly had 3 or 4 competing storage facilities within a few miles. Price wars began. Free first month. Free moving truck. Half-price promotions. Occupancy dropped. Facilities that looked identical from the road suddenly had completely different financial outcomes. One stayed profitable. Another struggled just to cover loan payments. Because here's the uncomfortable reality. A self-storage facility doesn't fail because people stop owning stuff. It fails because too many investors believe the business is easy. Now let's build one realistic example. Imagine a modern facility with around 700 units. Average monthly rent $165. Occupancy around 92%. That's roughly $1.20 to $1.30 million in annual rental revenue before any extra income. Add tenant insurance, packing supplies, late fees, truck rentals, business mailbox rentals, and total annual revenue climbs even higher. After payroll, property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, marketing, loan payments, and ongoing repairs, a well-managed facility may produce a net profit margin of roughly 25% to 40% depending on debt levels and local competition. That's an outstanding business, but only if occupancy stays healthy. Lose just enough customers, and those fixed costs don't disappear. The mortgage still arrives. Taxes still arrive. Insurance still arrives. Which brings us back to the biggest misunderstanding in this entire business. People think self-storage is about renting empty rooms. It isn't. It's about renting time. Time until someone buys a bigger house. Time until the divorce is finalized. Time until the business grows. Time until grief becomes easier. Time until they finally decide what to throw away. That's what customers are really paying for. The metal walls, the concrete floor, the security gate, they're just the container. The real product is peace of mind. So if you decide to own a self-storage business, remember this. Your greatest asset was never the building. It was never the land. And it certainly wasn't the roll-up doors. It was your ability to quietly collect recurring revenue from problems your customers hope they'll solve tomorrow. Sometimes tomorrow turns into years. And that's exactly why this simple-looking business has quietly become one of the most profitable corners of commercial real estate. If this video changed the way you think about self-storage, comment below with one business you want me to break down next by saying, "So you want to own a?" And if you enjoy deep financial stories that reveal how businesses really make money, subscribe because the next one might completely change the way you look at another billion-dollar industry.